Hello and welcome to my knitting channel. My name is Monika and this is a March stash stand video. I'll start with what I'm wearing just because that's a logical place to start. This is not something I finished this year. I do think I finished it last year. It is a t-shirt that I knit out of Untold Cotton Merino in the colorway. I think this one is poolside blue and this one is deep blue. Information will be on the screen and in the description for anyone who's curious. It is my own design and at some point I will release the pattern. I just haven't done it yet, I guess. So yeah, March was a very productive month for me. I did have a lot of stash out. No destash, but I did use a lot of yarn and I did also bring a little bit of yarn into my stash. So I think I'll just go through the things I made and show you. The very first thing I made was a blanket and I'm having it here in my lap because it's very big. So this is a corner-to-corner blanket. I don't remember which corner I started in, but I don't think it matters. And I have woven in ends on both sides, just depending on where I ended up having to switch yarns. I'm holding 3 strands of a yarn I got from Rusta. It's called Ellen, and I used almost 1.5 kilos. I used 1358 grams. I'm very pleased holding 3 strands together. This is very dense and it's very heavy because it's 100% acrylic. So this is a blanket that, in my opinion, is more about the weight than about the warmth. So yeah, I personally haven't used it a lot, but quite a few of my guests prefer this one for some reason. Perhaps they actually do like the weight of it, because it is a very hefty blanket, considering it weighs almost 1.5 kilos. So yeah, I'm very pleased that I got a lot of this yarn out of stash. It has been plaguing me for quite a few years now, as I went through this journey with yarn. I realized that I don't actually like knitting with acrylic very much, though I don't mind the result of it. It's just the feeling of working with it that I don't enjoy. And also it is not the most suited for garments, at least not closed sweaters, as it doesn't breathe since it's acrylic. So I can use it for cardigans, but I won't use it for sweaters anymore. I have knit a sweater in this yarn in a different color, but that is a sweater that I don't think I've used more than maybe once. So yeah, okay, that's the first project I got done in March, and I am very happy. It is really big and I can't be bothered trying to fold it while I'm sitting, so I'm just gonna shove it to the floor. So yeah. The second thing I made was a hat. I was a little bit inspired by the Musselborough hat, in the fact that I did start at the top, increase out, knit a big tube, and then close it at the top, and then put one side inside the other. But when I did weave in the ends, because I only had 2 ends, I did just weave them both on one side, so you can't pull this into one big long tube. I don't have the Musselborough pattern, so this was just free-handed. It's a tiny bit bigger than I wish it was. It's a bit too loose around my ears, and I think if it was a bit tighter it would also be a tiny bit longer, so it would cover more of my ears. But it is a very warm hat, so on days when there's not too much wind, this is very suitable. I do think I'm gonna make another one too at some point, but yeah, not right away. I do have my notes on how I knit this, so I know to stop increasing at an earlier time. This yarn was gifted to me, or was a gift. Gifted. It was a gift from my nephew for Christmas. So I am very fond of this yarn. It is... I have forgotten what it's called. It's Knitting in Mumbai. I do not have the colorway here, but I do have it written down. I just have to find it. Yeah, the yarn is called Bæstmor, Meditating in Mumbai, and it's the colorway 111. So yeah, I did knit them up on 3mm needles, and I do very much think that was the right call. I do like the fabric. It's very neon too, so I really do like that. But I did end up with too many stitches when I just started the stockinette portion. I should have had perhaps 10% less stitches to make it more fitted. But yeah, I'll learn that for the next one. I have used this quite a lot. March was quite cold and windy. Where I live, so I have used it a lot, but at some point I realized I wasn't quite able to cover my ears properly with this hat, so I've instead been using a few of my other hats, or also my headset, because my headset does cover my ears so I don't get cold and I can still listen to music. Yeah, I'm also gonna put this one on the floor. Let me see. Yeah. After that, I actually bought some yarn. I was at a dentist appointment, and right next door to our dentist there's local yarn store, and they have really lovely yarn. I was planning on buying some yarn from a local hand dyer, Anitas Rikketante, but she hadn't filled up the rack in a while, so there was no new colorways that kind of caught my eye. But I looked around else in the store and I found this pack of yarn. I'm sorry for the crinkling. I'm gonna just remove one ball and leave the rest here, I think. Because I saw this very beautiful color. It is darker in real life than it looks on camera, and on camera it looks very, very red, but it's more burgundy. It's a slightly darker, more purple-ish color. And it's gaparded cashmere lace. So this is 100% cashmere. It's the most expensive yarn I've ever bought, but I do think it's worth it. I do have a plan for what to do with this. I do think I'm either going to make a cowl or a hat. I haven't quite decided yet. If I'm making a cowl, I'm probably going to hold it single. If I'm making a hat, I think I'm going to hold it double. Because I do think I'm going to have enough for a hat. Maybe not a double knit hat, but a regular hat. And it is so soft. So I'm very much looking forward to having this knit up as something close to my face. So yeah, I bought 125 grams and that was expensive. So yeah. It doesn't actually say how much it was per ball, only the, oh no, there it says. Yeah, super expensive. It's actually, for one of these balls, it's almost the same price as hand-dyed yarn, but you only get a quarter amount of the yarn. So I don't think I'm going to buy a lot of cashmere. It's just more expensive than I'm willing to splurge on, I guess. But I really, really, really love this color, and I really wanted to try it. If it turns out this yarn is so much better than any other yarn I've ever tried, maybe I think it's worth it. But at the moment, I think merino is not that far off from this yarn. Maybe I changed my mind when I've knit it up and washed it and used it. But I don't know. Okay. The very last thing I made in March are these two. I think stocking might be the best way to describe it. It's a very, very, very long sock. I have two of them. And I have actually used them quite a bit in the past few weeks since I made them. I use compression socks sometimes. I probably should use them more often. But they make my feet quite cold, so wearing this outside of the compression socks has helped a lot with not being too cold. I use compression socks to try and not have my blood pool in my legs. And yeah, restricting the blood flow to your legs do make you a bit cold, so there's positive negatives with everything, I guess. But this was very much a success. I made them out of Alpakka Forte, Alpakka Forte. And I used two colors that I have used before for a similar pair of socks. I used Mais melert, or perhaps it's just Mais, and Petrol melert. And I'm very, very happy. These are the same pattern I use for all of my socks. It's the Under the Oak socks. That's my own pattern. It's available in Ravelry. Link in the description. And other than that, I just made them really, really, really long. So instead of having 5 of these stripes, I have 13. I'm very happy with them. So yeah, I am contemplating making more, but perhaps in a different pattern, because the tube part of this was incredibly boring. The actual sock part, that was a very quick. You could quite clearly see your progress and that you were almost done, so it was very motivating. The legs were not. So yeah, I did not do any increases or decreases on the legs, so when I do wear them, the stripes are thinner at the top and thicker at the bottom, just because of the way the yarn or the fabric gets stretched. But I didn't mind. I don't have very thick legs, so it didn't make that big of a difference. And my socks are usually a tiny bit oversized, so I didn't have any problem pulling them all the way up. So yeah, I do think that's all I have to say about these ones. I can see where I wove in my end. Might have to do something to make it look a bit better later. Anyway, those are all of my finished objects and the yarn I bought. So I'm going to go through the stats. In the beginning of March, I started with 26,292 grams, which I do think is roughly the same as I started with. No, actually, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. When I started this whole project, I started with 28,167 grams. That was last year in May. So I do actually have quite a lot less yarn when I started this month than I started in the whole series, I guess. Started this month. This month I started with 26,292 grams. I got 125 grams in, and the 3 projects I finished used up 1,608 grams. Didn't have any Destashed. So, at the beginning of April, I had 24,809 grams. And I must say that is fantastic. I have I have more than 3 kilos down from less than a year ago, and that is with also bringing a lot of yarn into my stash. So all in all, I'm very happy with that. I'm probably going to do a bit more destashing in the coming months because how to say this correctly, there's some yarn in my stash that have been through more than one season where I have not used it for that season, and at some point you're just going to have to realize I'm not going to use it, or I have to like force myself to actually use it. One of them I have actually destashed, but that's in April, so you're going to see it in the next video, just because I tried very hard to make it into a project and I couldn't stand the feel of the yarn while knitting it, so I gave up. There was nothing wrong with the yarn, it was a me issue. So yeah, but that's for next video. So all in all, I am very happy with the trend so far. Already this past 3 months I have used more than 2 kilos of yarn, and that is at the rate at which I am used to, I guess, comfortable using yarn. I did have a very slow January because I was focusing on a lace shawl, which was both made in lace pattern but also in lace weight yarn. So that took a lot of time and also didn't result in a lot of weight out of my stash, though it did take quite a few meters. But I don't calculate how much I've used in meters, I only use grams, so that's just how it is. But yeah, that's everything I've knit in March, and also all the yarn I brought in March. So I hope you have enjoyed this video, and if you did, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!